Dr. Sterling, I don't even know your first name.
The name I was given at birth was Christine, but now I have my Hebrew name, which is Noah.
Noah.
So you can call me Noah.
Well, isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
I didn't
when
think...
we move to Israel, I will go by Noah.
You might move to Israel, or are you planning on moving to Israel?
We're planning on moving to Israel. We have to pay off our student debt first before we can go.
Wow.
But yeah, that's the plan.
I was actually just talking to another guest about about healthcare. She had a medical abortion, and we were just talking about this. She lives in Texas, and she was saying at the end, I said, "Well, what do you want to leave us with?" And she was like, "Don't give up hope." And I told her, I was like, "Well, I got to tell you, nothing happens without hope, so much so that the national anthem of Israel is Hatikva, which means hope. Like, nothing happens without hope. A whole nation of people could come back to their homeland after hundreds of years of exile because of Hatikva, hope. We could do anything if we have hope." Anyway, 100%. I had no idea asking your name would elicit such depth, but I'm also not surprised because that's who you are. Noah. Dr. Sterling. Well, congratulations on your third baby.
Thank you.
What are your babies' names?
So my first is 5, and she's Celeste Sarai. And my middle is Oliver Ezra. And then our final child is Hudson Aryeh.
Hudson Aryeh. Final, meaning you're not doing anymore?
We are not doing anymore. That was the last.
You did your job.
Yeah.
3 times over. Because pregnancy has been hard for you, huh?
Yeah, so I actually always thought that we would have 4 kids because I'm one of 4. And my husband is from a very small family, in part because he lost so much family in the Shoah. And so, when we met, he was like, "I want 10 children. We're going to do our part to repopulate those Jewish babies." But then after our first, he's like, "We may need to reevaluate the 10.
Wow. Celeste really changed your whole life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I just watched your most recent, or maybe just most recent to me, TikTok or Instagram reel about your membership, Sterling Parents, and how that started. And maybe actually, if we can rewind, and would you introduce yourself? We can let the listener know why your first child had such a huge impact on your life in so many ways.
Yeah, so I am a board-certified OBGYN, and when I was pregnant with my first, it was a difficult pregnancy, especially in the beginning. It was a really, really dark time. I am an extrovert. I am a very optimistic, positive person. I have never... Before that, I don't think I'd ever had a truly bad day. Bad things had happened, but I could always find a little glimmer of hope in every day.
Wow.
Even on the worst days. And then pregnancy knocked me on my ass. And I was so nauseous. I was so sick. I was so fatigued. And it was a big adjustment to who I am as a person, because I had gotten all of my sense of self-worth from being productive and doing all the things and being this badass doctor. And then I couldn't. I couldn't be as productive as I was before. I couldn't do all of the things.
Well, it's funny because you were being productive. You were making actual human life. Sorry. I don't mean to not to gaslight you.
It's the most productive. No, it's the most productive.
Yeah.
But I'm the classic kind of overachiever where I don't give myself credit for something. You know what I mean? I constantly undercredit myself. And that's actually something that has it is 180 degrees from where it was before. So it was a very difficult pregnancy. And as I'm feeling nauseous and just awful and everything is gray and icky and I just don't enjoy life anymore, thinking back to all of the times people had shared with me, I'm feeling really nauseous. And I'd be like, yeah, that's normal. We can do these medications without grasping
What that
the
meant.
emotional impact of what it feels like to feel like crap for months and months. And
To
so
feel ill.
just it
Ill.
yeah,
To
I mean,
feel
it's-
ill.
yeah.
No, I know. I would tell my
It's
doctor
awful.
that. I would tell my doctor that, and she'd be like, "Yeah, you're pregnant." And she had had 2 or 3 children before, or whatever, and she didn't have this huge epiphany that you have. But I'm assuming that you're an empath, on top of a lot of
Maybe,
other
probably.
beautiful things. But you care deeply for people.
Yeah.
This particular doctor was just like, "Yeah, you're pregnant," and then would walk out the door. But okay, go on. Maybe that wasn't you.
No, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people are just like, yeah, that's just how it is. But just because something happens to so many people, and just because it's common, doesn't mean that it feels normal when you're experiencing it. And so I then understood, when I understood on a cellular, my personal experience level, what
Yeah.
going through a pregnancy meant. And then going through a traumatic birth and going through a postpartum period in which my husband, I mean, obviously I'm an OBGYN, my husband's an emergency medicine physician. So we're both physicians and we were really struggling. And I remember at 3:00 in the morning, my daughter was crying and I was crying. And I was just like, this is, if I'm struggling here and I have all of these resources, I have all of this knowledge, I know that what's happening to me isn't dangerous or a serious medical condition, but if I am struggling, then how can I expect all of these people out in the world to just do this with so little assistance? So it really lit a fire underneath me. I was employed at the time to go back to my employer, and I was all fired up. I was like, this has to change. We have to do this and this. And I was told, I remember one meeting I had with them, I was like, people are starting to wake up to the fact that this postpartum care, this lack of postpartum care is just, it's not okay. And they're like, oh, people have been saying that for a long time.
Oh,
I
great.
was like, this isn't.
So you're like cool with it? Is that what you're trying to say?
That's not landing the way you think it's going to land.
Wow.
So eventually I left my medical practice.
Wow.
I don't practice clinical medicine anymore. I created an online platform. I created a membership for pregnancy and postpartum because I needed to, I think of pregnancy and postpartum as kind of this river, and all of your fears and stresses and anxieties and complications run in this river. And postpartum and prenatal care should be this beautiful bridge that just supports you across this river. But if you look at the bridge that Americans have right now,
Americans,
it
I
is
love
the
that you're
most-
highlighting that, because Americans, I don't think they have this in the UK. I don't know. I don't even know what it's like in Israel.
it's different.
But
it's different, and I've talked to people from all over the world, and there are places that have big problems like us, and there are places that don't, So but it is very much an American problem.
Yeah.
And we have just this janky bridge. It's what it looks like to
like a rope
me
bridge?
is that it's broken, there's holes, and there's all these pregnant and postpartum people out there with a Google search bar trying to scotch tape their frickin' bridge. And it's not there. It shouldn't be the responsibility of individual people to fix this problem.
For themselves.
For themselves while they're in it.
While they're
right?
in it, I know. And then once we're out of it, we're like, never mind. We're fine. Just keep
Yeah.
moving. One foot in front of the other.
It's it's infuriating. And so for me, it was a decision of, okay, I can either work from within the system and over the course of my lifetime hope to change this. But there was just such a sense of urgency. I had other friends who were going through it, some of whom are OBGYNs and some of whom aren't, who were going through it. And I just felt like I cannot wait my entire life to fix this.
Wow.
And so that's why I left, and I basically created my own bridge that can fill some of those gaps so that people don't have to go through it by themselves without the support, education, community that they deserve.
Do you think that this is particularly American because we're so isolated and have been even before COVID? Like, I don't
There's
think
so
I don't
many
think
things.
women or people with uteruses.
Pregnant, capable people.
Thank you.
Is a good way to say it. Yeah,
Pregnant, capable people should not be alone in this process. We should have, if we don't have actual biological sisters, we should have community. And what is going on here that we don't? I mean, thank God you've created one.
There's so many
right?
things.
Okay, tell me.
So one, we talked about America's a very individualistic society, right?
Yeah.
Very individualistic. And our friends, like you and I both have friends that care a lot, but they are so overwhelmed themselves.
That's right. I care a lot, and I'm so overwhelmed. I care a lot, and I drop the ball on caring for people I love because just having 2 children for me and a dog is a lot for me. It really is. And I understand when other people drop the ball or can't call or... Anyway, go on.
Yeah. And so, really expecting other people with young children to be the safety net is hard. We really do need people who are outside. Like the years where you have little kids, they're very physically intensive. And, it's, you're sleep deprived. You're trying to put sunscreen on these kids. Like, it is physically overwhelming to be to be pregnant, postpartum, breastfeeding. So it's an intense time. So yes, we do need community with people who are in our similar stage, but we also need people who have exited that really intense phase to be there for us. Right. But it's, the problem is that, a lot of the grandparents still have to work. It's expensive to live here. We have no social services.
That's right.
We have no childcare. Our childcare is
abominable.
So expensive.
It's so expensive. Daycares where we're like our, when I had like my son, and it, and the world was normal 5 years ago when Celeste was born. Also, I think our kids are the same age, Ness. Yeah. When I had my son, I was like, my son won't go to a daycare. Ugh. And it's like, okay, so you have all this like single person money and like, fine, great. Have like some babysitter, whatever, fine, great. But like after you have more than one child, you realize like daycare is actually extremely expensive.
Yes.
If you have to go to work to pay for the daycare, the thing that we're all like, which is like saving our lives, is so expensive. Yeah. Forget nannies and babysitters, and like you said, our parents are stretched thin too. My parents are still working. Yeah. My husband's parents are still working.
Yeah. That's the thing is that the village is too busy keeping up with their own lives. And it's not that we don't care about each other. I do think we care a lot, but we're all stretched so thin that we're barely keeping our heads above water because we work too much. We have a culture that doesn't prioritize rest. We have a culture, my favorite place in the world, Israel and Italy are my 2 favorite places in the world.
Yes.
Okay. And Italy is just like, their lifestyle is so different, and it's hard to deprogram. The American programming is strong.
Yeah.
It is strong. And so
it's a fight or flight, I think. Like we're all I live in New York City, so definitely nervous system overload just by virtue of like living high up, right? Like that's not grounding, right? But definitely the whole of America is living in this fight or flight, gotta make it mentality. And we know that. We know that because look at our women and children. We are not thriving. We're not.
No, we are not.
Why didn't you decide to maybe do like midwifery? This is solely my own curiosity.
It's a great question. Well, one, I didn't know that I was going to be an OBGYN until I was already in medical school. So I'm from a family of physicians, and I thought I was going to be an orthopedic surgeon.
Also good.
My
also
personality
nice.
my personality does not vibe. I would not have fit in with the ortho bros. There's some women in there too, but like
mostly bros.
Yeah, I think the most accurate medical show out there is Scrubs. Truthfully. Maybe not exactly, but yeah. So I didn't know that I was going to be an OBGYN. I really didn't even know that I was going to be an OBGYN until I actually said the words out loud to my mentor that I was thinking about OBGYN. And then I was like, wait, I am? I guess I am. But it's very much me. But you know what? The problem, I trained with midwives. So where I did my residency, we worked with midwives. We worked together. I was always on call with a midwife. We were hanging out on labor and delivery together. I've had all of my care through midwives.
Oh, you have?
Love midwives.
Yeah.
But they're only for, kind of low. Sometimes they'll do a little bit, you may have a few risk factors and you can still be with a midwife. But there's a lot of people who risk out of midwifery care. So it is a better model for sure, but it is, one, we don't have enough midwives, and two, not everybody is able to see a midwife. And I really like supporting people who have those fears. Some of this pregnancy can be real. Pregnancy can be scary.
You've no idea what's going on the inside of your body. Yeah. Inside someone else's body on the inside of your body.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel really, I like taking care of people that are not, that are higher risk.
Oh, you do? Were you higher risk?
No. I am other than with my final I missed advanced maternal age by a few weeks with my middle child. And then my final pregnancy, I was advanced maternal age, and that's the only risk factor I've ever had. I've been very lucky.
You mean geriatric?
Oh my God, I hate that. Okay,
God.
Listen.
Is that the most disgusting? Is that the most disgusting thing you could tell a woman? Hi, thank you so much for bringing human life into the world. You're 35 and geriatric now?
Yeah, it's disturbing, but I hate that term. It's old. It still pops up in charts and stuff because sometimes, like, when you put in a code, like, it automatically will bring up, instead of advanced maternal age, the term geriatric pregnancy. I didn't even know about that term until social media.
Oh,
because in my training, we never talked about geriatric pregnancy ever. So I learned about it on social media, and the funny thing is that I was always like, that's the worst term, I hate it, ugh. And then I was pregnant at 37, and I was like, oh, no, yeah, that's what's going on right now.
Oh, I feel the difference?
Oh, 100%. And that may just be me, because I know I have friends who are, pregnant at 40 and thriving, love pregnancy.
Yes.
But for me, my final pregnancy, and granted, he was significantly bigger than my other two.
Like what?
He was almost, he was 10-14 at birth.
Oh, Hudson!
And my Oliver was 10, but 10-14 feels different. 10-14 feels different.
What? Even after two people pass through you? 14 ounces makes a big difference?
I could tell that he was bigger, and I actually made them. I really did make them induce me at 39 weeks. I was advanced maternal age, and so induction at 39 weeks for advanced maternal age, there's some data that, it may be helpful. It's not like there's like soft reasons for induction, and then there's hard reasons for induction. That was like a soft one. And induction for having a big baby is also, the data doesn't support that it's going to reduce risks if you do it at 39 weeks. We know, obviously, if we induce someone at 36 weeks, their risk of baby's shoulder getting stuck in the pelvis is going to be way lower, but the risks are too high for baby, so we wouldn't do that. But induction for big baby, it's not really it's not a great induction reason because we don't have data to support it. But I kept saying to them, I'm like, this baby is bigger than my 10-pounder. And I'm afraid that if I deliver at 40 weeks like I did last time, that I don't know if I can deliver 11 or 12-pound baby. And that's what I was on track to do. Because if I had waited another week, he probably would have been over 11 pounds.
Right.
And I think now that I've given birth, I think I probably still could have done it because I pushed 4 times with my 10-pound baby, and then I pushed for an hour with this baby, but it was because he was sunny side up.
Ow!
And once,
Ow!
It was awful.
Ow!
It was awful.
Okay, can we describe to the listener what sunny side
Yeah.
up is? And awful,
Yeah,
and this
so-
is after your traumatic birth with your
With my
daughter
first.
5 years ago. And this was worse or this was better?
Oh, this was better.
Oh God!
Way better.
Tell us what sunny side up is, just for
Okay.
reference, people.
So sunny side up is when baby should be looking towards your bottom, your bum, and looking down, so that their chin gets tucked to their chest and the smallest area of their head is leading through the birth canal, through your vagina. If they are looking up towards the sky, towards your abdomen, they are, the biggest diameter of their head is going through your birth canal. It's just not the right the best positioning. And there some other cultures, I can't remember in which language they call it. They call them stargazers, babies who are looking up, which I think is so pretty, but it's awful. It's awful. So he was sunny side up, and I pushed for an hour with nothing, no progress, and that had.
But does the epidural help with sunny side up babies? I hear that it does.
It can help with the pain, because it is pain. You typically have pain in the back.
Because the skull is hitting the spine, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, when I think about, your spine is protected though by bone and everything. So I don't know, when people say like, oh, it's back on back and that's why it hurts. I don't think we don't know why it's felt in the back, but it is. But I don't think we necessarily know why you feel it like that. Because everything that I think about logically, I'm like, I don't understand. Anyway, I digress. Okay, but I've thought a lot about why do you feel it in your back?
You've had a lot of time to think about this.
Yes. So I had an epidural, which was great, but I pushed for an hour and I was freaking out. Because when you go from pushing out a 10-pound baby in 4 contractions, like I almost laughed out my middle child. He came out so easily. And he was a surprise 10 pounds. I was never expecting a baby that big because Celeste was 2 pounds less. So when you go from that to like pushing for an hour and nothing, no progress. I mean, when I push with my babies, I put my hand on my vagina. I'm up in there like feeling my pushing because I'm not afraid. I am not afraid of the vagina, my own or anybody else's. I'm obviously very comfortable.
Well, vaginas are great. We wouldn't be here without vaginas. Yeah. Literally no one would be here. So a big fan of vaginas. But that's great. That's a great tip for anyone maybe wanting to have a vaginal labor. You go in there with your hand to like stretch it out a bit?
No, not even stretch it out. I needed the feedback to know if my pushing efforts were working.
Okay.
It can be especially important when you have an epidural. That's right. And you can't necessarily feel your pushing efforts or feel your contractions. So I was pushing and not feeling a budge. And so I'm thinking, this is a 12-pound baby and this is not happening. So the midwife who was pushing with me called in the OBGYN to do like a consult. I think mostly because pushing for an hour isn't insane. Okay. But I was clearly freaking out. And so she called the OBGYN in and she comes in and she's like, all right, well, we can try a manual rotation, which is when we go in with our hands and turn baby to look down, turn them to the kind of the ideal position. So she went in and she did such a good job. She just you push baby back up to kind of disengage them from the pelvis. She turned him around and then he just came out.
No. I
didn't even have to I had to push a little bit past like the ring of fire, but that was it.
No.
It was all position. It wasn't me. I was so frustrated with myself and I was like, Christine, how could you forget how to push? And I shouldn't have pressed the epidural button that one last time. And I was being so hard on myself.
Do not be hard on yourself.
And everybody was giving
to the world.
I know.
Life with Hudson. 10 pounds.
Yeah, so
14 ounces. Does he sleep well? They say when they're bigger, they sleep better. My babies were tiny and I didn't sleep for 3 years straight.
No, my kids are... Even Celeste she wasn't as good of a sleeper. She was really rough at the beginning, but both my 10-pound babies have the most they ever woke up at night I'm gonna I need to knock on wood because we're getting a sleep regression is a coming, I'm sure. But as newborns, the most they ever woke up at night was 2 times at night.
It's amazing.
So
Because they
very
don't need
lucky,
to.
very
I mean,
lucky.
for the listener who doesn't, maybe hasn't had a baby or doesn't know, like, they need to gain weight. They just need to gain weight. That's why
Yeah.
they're waking you up in the middle of the night. They're just
Yeah.
trying to thrive. But
Yeah,
when they're
and
10 pounds, it took
our
me like 3
pediatrician-
months to get my kids to 10
Yeah.
pounds, maybe more.
Yeah, the pediatricians, like when I had my 10-pounders, be like, yeah, you don't have to wake them up. With Celeste, they're like, you have to wake her up every 2 hours, even if she's sleeping, to feed her. And with the
That's right.
10-pound babies, they were like, no, you don't have to do that. We eventually had to do that when because Hudson wasn't gaining enough. He didn't reach, it took him 3 weeks to get back to birth weight. So we had a little touch and go there, but now, my sons have been such easy babies. I mean,
Yay!
toddler, let me tell you, my 2-year-old
A monster.
he's made up for it.
Yeah.
He's made up for his
Oh, yeah.
easy baby.
So has Paz. So has my 2-year-old. She was like the easiest baby. Oh my God, she was so easy. I mean, she woke up in the middle of the night, but I was kind of like, oh, you're so easy during the day. Like, it's okay. Like, let's
Yeah.
hang out, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now that
Yeah.
she's 2 and sleeping, I just have to say, thank God she's sleeping. She's
Yeah.
giving me a run for my money, but I'm kind of I enjoy it a little bit more. With the first
Totally.
one, I was like,
Yeah.
what have I done wrong? Whoa. Whoa. Whoa.
Oh, I know. With the first one,
is
you
that?
think it's all you, and then you realize, oh, this is very little to do with me.
This has very
They
little
are
to do.
who they are.
Oh my God! But I do think that the
Yeah.
first time you don't know that, because like everything is about you up until that point, and rightfully so. Everything
Yes.
is about you. So like, why wouldn't this also be about you? And it's a sort of bizarro land experience the second time around where you're like, I've done the exact same things, and
Yes.
like the results could not be any more different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were your postpartums different? Were your postpartums different?
Oh, so different. My first postpartum was a brutal awakening. I'm not, this was 2000. I mean, when you gave birth in 2017, there was not all of these Instagram accounts talking about what this experience was like. People, it was really, you hit a brick wall and it was shocking.
Yeah, it was shocking.
I had no idea, even as an OBGYN, which
Right.
just goes to show that we are not listening to women. We are not telling women stories. I mean, it is a lot better in the last 5 years.
I think so.
We have so much further to go. But when I first started talking about postpartum being difficult on social media, people were like, I've never heard anybody say this before. And now I feel like it's more out there.
Well-
But my last postpartum experience was on par. Probably, it may have even been more difficult physically, and it was a gorgeous experience.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, I
was
had
beautiful.
I had a night and day experience with Ness and with Paz. I can't tell if the world has changed in the past 5 years and we're telling more women's stories, or if I just like am looking for them more. I'm not
Yeah.
as much as I like here. So here I am putting out a podcast, just like you say, like I'm out of the thick of it, and now I'm willing and able and ready with people that I know, like, and trust to disseminate the information to the women, coming into motherhood now.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I don't know if this existed before and I just didn't know it. If I just didn't seek it out, or
Instagram used to be much more
pictures.
cookie cutter. The vulnerability thing was kind of came about around 2017, 2018,
Yeah.
2019. All of a sudden, influencers started sharing vulnerably.
Right.
And then it became like a trend, and now it's nobody's surprised when an influencer comes on and cries, and you know what I mean? Like it is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I also think that the world has changed so much. There's so much more to cry about after this pandemic, I
Oh my
think.
God.
Like, it was sort of impossible if your business was living online not to be like, at some point, oh my gosh, I'm totally I'm devastated. So at some point in the last 2 years,
Yeah.
every one of us have touched that devastation
Yes.
point. But I'm really curious because you're this brilliant doctor and educator. I love the way you speak on
Well, thank you.
on the postpartum and pregnancy experience. It's like really comforting because you've such a voice of authority, and also you're just really clear, you know? But how do you use social media to get to people? I mean, what a pivot. Like from a business perspective, like
huge
how did you
pivot.
even know you could do that?
Oh, you know what I think it was? As a new mom, the new mom friends that I made friends with, I went to this Postpartum Support Alliance is a organization here in San Diego that helps support postpartum mental health. And I met somebody there who's a dear friend of mine now, and two of her mom friends were both influencers.
Okay.
And I think it was becoming friends with influencers that made me think, oh, I could do this, and I could do it in this way, in an in an educational way. And yeah, it's been. I also, I'm an extrovert, and I'm also a person who I don't really know if. I'm not really worried about embarrassing myself or making a fool of myself. And so I don't think that anything that I think or that happens to me is that I'm special in any way and that I'm the only one. So if I'm thinking something or if I'm worried about something, I have no problem, or I'm struggling with something, I have no problem sharing that. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like somebody like me should be the one who's sharing the things that other people may feel like maybe a little guilty or ashamed of because they don't know. And I was born with this confidence that allowed me to not, and so that's a gift that I have.
It is a real gift. It is a real gift, and you're funny. I just think that's a real leg up. Don't you think, like when you have something deep to say and you're funny, you're like, I got that. I gotta share it. I mean,
I don't know where this, it's funny. I am so different than my family too, because my family are not like funny joke people. Uh-huh. And I think that I kind of cringed them out a little bit as a child. Like I definitely set off their cringe factor, like the way, because I will talk to, I will talk to anybody. I love making people laugh. It gives me such personal joy.
I cannot relate more.
And my family is all introverts and kind of more, they're not big jokesters.
They're doctors, guys. Yeah. So we've all been to the doctor. They write you a script and call it a day. God bless them. Really, thank you so much. I really am grateful for medicine, all the things, but they're not here to hang out. Although I do.
Exactly.
Except you are.
And you know what? A lot of OBGYNs are, but we have to put on this kind of mask. You have to wear a mask a lot of the time. And but my girlfriends who are OBGYNs are hilarious. And we all have, it's funny, it's emergency medicine on the West Coast and OBGYN on the West Coast. We all swear like sailors. We all anesthesiologists too are pretty cool. So, it's just that when you interact with us when we're in our professional capacity. What?
But not foot doctors. This we've already discussed.
Foot doctors.
They're not so funny.
Oh, orthopedic surgeons? They're just different. They're not as...
Different.
Yeah.
They're just different. Oh, good.
Yeah.
We don't judge. So you still it's all good. Wait, so you still have friends who are OBGYNs. You don't have, any beef. I mean, we have to go to the gyno. You're not here on this podcast being don't go to the gyno, it's a racket.
No, it's a system problem.
Okay.
And we are the victims of it as much as our patients are. And that's the thing is that the powers that be, you go to your OB and they have 5 minutes and it doesn't seem like they care. And, you're like, oh, that OB/GYN doesn't care. This person sucks. And then the physician who's, 30 minutes, 45 minutes behind already. A patient comes in and they have this long list of questions and they're like, oh my God, this lady,
This lady
and
caring
like,
for
this
her
sucks.
for her own body
Yeah,
and her
this
baby.
sucks. And the problem is not the patient or the physician. The problem is a system where you should be seeing 30 patients in a day.
Why, to pay the bills?
No.
What's going on there?
Yeah, well, one, most physicians are employed. We are not, very few physicians these days own their own practice. We have bosses. We are cogs in this system. We are not in charge. At the hospitals, physicians are not in charge a lot of the times. It's business people.
Right.
It's people who maybe they were a physician or maybe they were a nurse, but now they've transitioned over to hospital administration and they've really lost touch with medicine. So we are cogs. And, you know, being an OBGYN is hugely traumatizing. Being an emergency medicine physician, hugely traumatizing. Nobody helps us deal with the emotions of the job and the trauma of the job. And so what we do, we don't know any better, and we're go out there just
Numbing.
our trauma is impacting our patients. We're burnt out. We are desensitized. We have, you know, compassion fatigue because we are so overworked.
Right.
We are in this awful soup along with our patients, and the patients and the physicians are just blaming each other when we need to look up at who created this soup, who created this problem.
Who created this problem?
I mean, it's insurance companies.
Insurance companies.
It's, you know, it's insurance companies. The fact that, you know, I don't pretend to have the answers to how we can fix our healthcare system,
sure.
but a for-profit system, you know, just a pure for-profit system is ridiculous.
Right. And maybe it's not ridiculous, but it's not working and it's hurting people. I don't know if it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I like making money. I don't know, really, but I think at the end of the day, when we're talking about life and death, like actual birth and death, then we have to question, is it working?
Yeah.
And it's clearly not.
It's not.
So you, it's not. Great. So one of the solutions, well, I don't know if this is a solution or if it's just a really helpful handhold, is Sterling Parents. Is that the offering that you created? What was the download
Sterling,
for you around
in creating this?
Yeah, around creating your community.
Yeah, so it has the big purpose, like the big why behind Sterling Parents is that I have this kind of fundamental woo-woo spiritual belief that our children are our soulmates. And our reproductive journey, our journey as we grow them and develop them in our bodies, or, you know, the whole experience of it is preparing us to be a parent for that child.
Oh, I need to take a second. So good.
Yeah. But when
That's
we
so
are
beautiful.
so anxious and stressed out and unsupported through that journey, we can't be present. We can't go through that growth and development. And nobody's even telling us this. Nobody's even supporting our growth and development through our pregnancy and postpartum. I am. But so that's why I wanted this to exist. I want to make it easier for people. So, you know, you're not Googling at 2 a.m. I wanted to create a source of high quality information that, you know, every piece of content that's on our site, all of your pregnancy questions, birth questions, whatever, we have this 3E verification process, and every piece of content is evidence-based, every piece of content is expert-based, and every piece of content is experience-based. Everyone who creates content for us is a mom who's been there.
I want to create content for you. What's going on here? Okay, go on.
There you go.
Way to plug myself on my own podcast. Great. Good for you, Rabani.
I love it.
Okay, back to you.
But yeah, I mean, so I wanted to give them that, I wanted to give people that place where they can go, that, you know, that place that they can trust with, you know, to have the information. And I wanted to give them human support from me. You know, my members can send me messages 24 hours a day. I check them. Probably 8 times a day I'm on there answering questions. I give them a lot more access to me than you have access. And because their questions, I'm not giving them medical advice because I can't. I'm not their doctor. But so many of the questions, all they need is education. They don't need me to tell them, take an aspirin, do this. They just need me to explain why their doctor made that recommendation, where that comes from, what the data says.
A longer conversation.
Yeah, and so there's that, and then there's this piece of I care about your development as a human being through this reproductive process because you are not just growing a baby, you are growing a parent, and the parent that you need to be for that child, even if you already are a parent. So how do we support the emotional development of the individual through their reproductive journey? And we have a methodology that helps people do that. We teach 9 skills that really support your physical and emotional wellness through the reproductive journey. And those 9 skills translate to you being the parent that you were meant to be. You don't need to be a perfect parent. You don't need to be a cookie cutter parent. You need to be the parent you were meant to be because your children are your soulmates. And once you're in alignment with yourself and your values, you are in alignment with your children and you're the best parent to them. Even on the day you say the wrong thing, you do the wrong thing, as long as you're walking in that alignment with your purpose and your values, you will always be the best child. I'm sorry, the best parent to your child. That's just my fundamental belief.
What are those 9 principles, if I may ask?
Yeah, so we have 3 kind of subsets. So there's the feel worthy skills, there's the be present skills, and there's the embrace joy skills. So the feel worthy skills are deprogram your brain. So we need to deprogram our brain from your worth is your productivity, your worth is how you look, your worth is checking all the boxes. So there's we have to deprogram your brain from a lot of these deeply held beliefs that we have. Boundaries, okay? So we bring in experts. I'm not teaching all of this stuff. We have experts that come in and teach about boundaries. So boundaries with yourself, with your family, all of that. And then self-care. And not just like, okay, make time. You time is important. Self-care is important.
Pedicures and massages.
How do you do it? How do you do it when you're exhausted and overwhelmed, right? So that it's a skill, it's a habit, it's a mindset. So we teach that. And then when we get to the be present skills, I love these skills. We have a mindfulness program, which mindfulness has data to show that people who practice mindfulness have higher parenting satisfaction scores. So mindfulness is really important. I don't know if you follow parenting accounts, but they're always talking about how you have to regulate your own emotions before you can help your child regulate. You have to calm yourself. How do you do that? Well, we want to teach you how to do that. So we teach mindfulness, mind-body connection, and we teach intuition.
What's that?
Intuition, I know. Intuition is a real thing. But when we tell people that, mother's intuition, mother's instinct, when we act like it just shows up when you give birth, we actually create a lot of shame because so many people don't know what it is. They confuse anxiety and intuition all the time.
Well, it's very loud. Anxiety is very loud in the body, in the thoughts.
Yes.
Of course.
So we teach intuition as a way of tapping in to really, I have a degree in neuroscience. So to me, intuition is just your subconscious knowledge that you don't always have conscious access to, but still exists in your incredible brain. Our brains are incredible. They are filled with so much information. And our bodies, right? Our bodies have so much information, but we don't always have that conscious access to them. But if you can strengthen that muscle of listening to yourself, of tapping into your inner wisdom, that's going to be when you get to that point, you're going to you can better respond to your children.
Mm-hmm. And have more parent satisfaction. I loved that.
Yes.
I loved that phrase because I don't hear it enough. A satisfying
experience. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah, satisfying experience.
Your life doesn't matter anymore?
Guys, I feel like I need to shout this from the rooftop. You were born too.
Yes.
You are someone's baby.
This is your one precious life.
This is
your one precious life.
This is the thing. We're doing
Yeah.
it right now.
Yeah. And that's why we talk about embracing joy, because that's a problem. When you become a parent, all of a sudden your enjoyment, fun, pleasure, it's just in you push it to the corners of your life. Once the more important work is done, then we'll have time for fun and no, joy can be a priority. And it should be, especially, with our kids, like it's so fleeting. And the bad times with children can be so freaking tough that we need to really lean into those joyful, happy moments, because they don't happen in perfect situations. You can have that joy moment on a plane when your kid is like, being crazy. There are those like seconds where you look at your partner and you're like, is this happening to us right now? Like, is this? And when you practice mindfulness, when you practice these skills, you can feel that moment can stretch out for you a little bit longer. And it makes it not so bad. Like, I'm about to fly today with my 3 kids.
Today.
And
you made the time for us?
Of course.
Dr. S!
I love you. I love you. Are you kidding? Of course I'm going to make time for you. Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and what am I doing right now in my head? I am telling myself, okay, Hudson's going to have 2 blowouts. Oliver, toddler poop is going to is going to show up. Someone's going to be crying. And what I'm picturing in my head is looking at my husband and having a giggle of being just like, look at this. This is ridiculous.
Look at what we've done.
And that is the skill, like that, practicing that skill of not being, oh my gosh, I have to do all the things they are people. And I have some control over what happens, but a lot of it I don't have control over. And so it's kind of practicing leaning into those hard moments and finding that little glimmer of like, this is going to be okay.
Sometimes when they're crazy,
okay.
It is going to be okay. And another mantra that maybe you want to adopt is,
yes,
I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah. I love it.
Like yesterday,
it.
I wanted to go to this event. Like I'm trying to get out there. Like being in person, it's like I need that. I can't. This is very, very.
Because you're an extrovert too.
I'm such an extrovert. Like
right?
I'm having a great time in this conversation, but like, could I hug you? Please. So like, I wanted to take my kids to this party, and like they were grumpy and and I just had to say to myself like, I don't care. I don't care. Yeah. They're not having like a proper dinner. I don't care. And it was an amazing evening. Yep. Because the things that I don't care about, I don't care. And the things that I really care about, like going to a party, that's a real priority for me. Like real. Yeah. Like I don't need anyone to like validate that. Parties are a real important thing for me. 100%. And like a new place. We went to a mall for maybe the first time because like we live in New York City. Like, my 5-year-old was like, what's a mall? Like, that was so cool. And
I love it.
The mantra, I don't care, really got me through. Thought I'd offer that to you.
I think that's fantastic. I think that these mantras, noticing when you're getting that, like when your shoulders are up at your ears and you're getting triggered and you're feeling all the feels and just releasing and being like, you know what? This is temporary. I say that to myself all the time. This is temporary. It's all going to be okay. It's important.
Yeah.
Because oh man, you can miss so much of the beauty in the imperfect moments.
Well, like, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point? Like, here we were. I mean, we actually sort of we didn't get into Celeste's birth, but maybe that's not. I mean, if you want to talk about it, I'd be more than happy. But and I'm curious about it. But
whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, I have so many more questions. Is the thing, and maybe you go into it in another place, and I can point people there just because, it probably is a good story. But what's the point of having children if we're not going to enjoy them? What's 100%. The point of being a doctor if you're not going to enjoy it?
Yeah. Oh. That student debt.
That's the point. Right. But look at you.
Literally,
Look at you, how you like
yeah.
trusted yourself to build an entire business from
Yeah,
scratch.
I mean, the reality is that I very, you know, I am only able to do this because I have a husband who could, for a few years, take on our entire financial burden. But
Thank you for saying
I
that out
didn't-
loud,
I
by the
didn't-
way. There's no shame in that game. And that's part of the reason why so many of these mommy bloggers and influencers are able to build these businesses. I just want to say that out loud to everyone,
Yes.
guys. It's if you feel like you're not moving forward, it's okay if you're just paying the bills. It's okay if you're paying the student loans. It's okay if
Yeah.
you're feeding your children. Anyway, thank God for you
I
and
could
thank
not
God for him.
Yeah, he is, and I said this I can't remember when I shared this, but Sterling Parents wouldn't exist without him because you don't make money when you start a new company. We have everything that I have made in the last 3 years has been reinvested in the company. So I have made $0. I don't get paid. And that is, he was able to shoulder that burden and pay our bills for that time. And now, Sterling Parents I do need to start earning an income because there's only so long that he can pay all of the debt because
because you're
becoming a
doctors.
doctor is incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
But that I couldn't, if I had to make the money that I was making before, I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done both.
No.
It was impossible. So I am very privileged to have been able to take a step away from generating income for a few years to create something that hasn't been created before.
Well, a little off topic, or maybe just tangential, but isn't that this whole conversation?
Right.
Your love story is so beautiful to me, and I get little
thank
bits of
you.
it because I have followed you for, I guess it's been a little bit over a year now, and just that love story is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Would you just tell it just because it's nice?
Yeah. So I met my husband first year of medical school, and I did not intentionally trick him, but I did trick him, and I tricked him in 2 ways. One, I wore a Grateful Dead t-shirt all of the time. I like the Grateful Dead, but I'm not a Deadhead. I had it because it was $10 at Urban Outfitters.
Yep.
That's why I had the shirt. Okay.
Valid.
It wasn't like I need more, Grateful Dead merch. It was like, oh, this is on the sale rack. It's $10. So I was wearing a Grateful Dead t-shirt. I wore it all the time. And I happened to like this really nerdy show called Battlestar Galactica. And I was having a conversation with another member of our medical school class about Battlestar Galactica. And my husband was like, this is an awesome chick. She likes the Grateful Dead. She likes sci-fi. Like this is the jackpot, right?
Not wrong. He's not wrong. She is the jackpot.
I mean, I am a high maintenance girl, and I always have been. I like Battlestar Galactica. I'm not a huge overall sci-fi fan. And so but by the time he got to know me, he loved me despite the fact that I was very different from my initial impression. And my husband is Jewish, and Judaism is really, really, really important to him. We have a bookshelf next to our bed with all of we have multiple bookshelves in our house with his Jewish books.
Like Talmud? Like Hebrew Jewish books?
Oh, yeah. All of it. I mean, he's, we got the Rambam. We've got, he is,
Whoa, Todd.
Eventually,
Jewish
one day,
to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's very scholarly in his Judaism is study,
Yeah.
He's like, probably one day when he's an old man, he's going to become a rabbi. Like that.
Great.
That will likely
Casual
happen.
doctor, rabbi.
Casual doctor, rabbi. Like that will happen.
Beautiful partner, supportive man.
And he'll talk like a he'll.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So, so and I'm not Jewish. Well, I am Jewish. I wasn't Jewish when we met. And that was a thing. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
But I loved him so much, and he loved me so much. And I said, I felt I had so much respect for Judaism, having experienced it through him, because it's so much, it's not like any religion I had ever been exposed to.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to just convert because that would be the convenient thing.
Yeah.
I said, at the beginning of our relationship, I was agnostic, and I was like, that feels really wrong to me. Like, to claim to be a Jew and not feel called to it, that just feels wrong, and I don't want to do that. But I will have a Jewish family for you. I will do the holidays. I will I will lean into creating a culturally Jewish experience for our kids, because that was really important to him. And we'll deal with it. We'll figure it out, Because
you love him.
I had so many Jewish friends who had both parents who were Jewish, a parent who was a rabbi, and they didn't have a connection to their Judaism, at the time that I knew them. It was something that they were like annoyed about. And I was like, I think I can take this on and make sure that our kids like freaking love it. Like, I'm going to make this fun. We're going to do it up. Like, I think that I can do that. And, and then after having 2 children together, I suddenly realized that I was Jewish and that I had a Jewish soul. And there was a reason why I had lived a Jewish life for almost 10 years. And then I decided to convert. And that was...
I have the chills all over. I did not see that twist after 2 children.
After 2 children.
I had the chills all over. I had no idea. I just assumed you converted before you. Oh my God. And I love him. Like, of course you are this beacon of hope for women, because you also have a man who is patient, who is passionate, who is loving, who is in true partnership.
Oh, I'm going to start crying. He is a 50-50 partner, and sometimes more. And I wish, it is so, when you have, especially when you're pregnant and you've got little kids, I mean, you cannot do all the things. And to have, I didn't have a dad who was like that. And to have my kids have a dad who is like, he's the one who has separation anxiety when we meet the kids. I'm like, woohoo! I mean, like, we are,
that's very Jewish. Is it not? I'm sorry. I don't mean to be,
but yeah, I mean, he's just such a good dad, and he's such a good partner, and he works so hard, and he gives the best to us.
Yeah.
He always gives us the best. If there are 2 slices of pie, he's giving whichever one he perceives to be better, he's giving to me or the kids. And that allows me to go out into the world and try to really do big things and take big risks to make big change. Because I have someone at home who's gonna do the dishes, and who's gonna make the food, and who's going to do bedtime. And take the leap to, like, yeah, sure, go not make money for 3 years when your earning potential is in the 6 figures. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Our partners matter for that. We can't do it on our own.
And we shouldn't.
Yeah.
And we really shouldn't. I'm grateful to him, and I'm grateful to you for the way you show up for women and pregnant, possible people.
Yeah, pregnant, capable people is a good term.
Thank you for teaching me that. I will get more. I will get better at that.
Listen, I learned that like 3 weeks ago.
Great.
So we're all
good.
We're all figuring it out.
Okay, great. We're all figuring it out. I like experience you to be such a spiritual person, and also like obviously highly like educated and really like a smarty pants. But the thing that like I remember about my OB was that she was kind of a bitch in those like 5-minute check-ins where they weighed me
Yeah.
and you shooed me off. But that in the labor and delivery room, oh my God, to see her face. I always say that it was like the difference between me auditioning for a role and me being on stage. Like,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
the audience is there and the orchestra is there and the lights are on me and God is everywhere. I
Yeah.
really felt that experience for her.
Yep.
And I honor her for that. I really do. It wasn't a perfect experience and I'm okay. Really do wish that I had known about your community like then, but
Yeah.
I wonder if you miss it. I wonder if you miss like being in the delivery room.
Oh, for sure. So a lot of OBGYNs hate the office because it is tough. You know, you have a lot of patients to get through, and you have to give cancer diagnosis and then a miscarriage diagnosis. And then when you're behind, when you've had those two like awful, like have to give, or an STI diagnosis to somebody's in a monogamous relationship, okay? Like these things happen all the time. And then you always get behind when those terrible things happen. And then it is like without fail that there's going to be a patient who's so mad at you.
Yeah.
And they just like,
Every
doctors
day.
are oftentimes, oh yeah, 100%. If you're late, if you are running behind, somebody is going to be very mad at you. And listen, it messes with their entire day. I get it. I totally get it. It's not to sit in a waiting room for frickin' 45 minutes feels ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But of course they don't understand what's on the other side of that, and they don't understand, like, doctors aren't seen as human, and that's a lot of times our fault. You know, that's the fault of the medical field in general.
No, I think it's all of our
but-
fault. Doctors are definitely human.
Yeah, we get
Fallible,
yelled at. I mean, we
human.
get yelled at, we get kicked, punched. Like, people take a lot out on us.
Sorry.
And so, yes, a lot of doctors hate clinic, but love being in the operating room and love being in the delivery room. There's a certain high to, like, literally adrenaline high.
Yes.
To when somebody is on, like, a mom and, or a pregnant person and a baby are, like, they're not doing okay, that I can show up and save their life. Like that, there's something about that, you know? But my favorite part of being a doctor is sitting across from a patient and educating them in the office. I love the office. I'm the weird OBGYN who that's my favorite thing. And yes, the operating room was cool. I was a really good surgeon, and it's fun operating is fun when you're good at it and you're not struggling. It's fun.
Yeah.
Saving somebody's life is freaking amazing. It's
Yep.
also hugely traumatizing,
Yeah.
but it's amazing, and it's both things, right?
Yep.
So for me, it was I had to let go of those things in order to fully lean into my favorite part of being a physician, which is like holding people's hands and supporting them and doing all of that. And I'm actually still able to do, like,
Yes.
I'm very much able to do that through Sterling Parents.
That's right.
I'm on Zoom with my members. I mean, every time I get on Zoom with them, we cry. Like somebody cries.
And
You
you're
know?
on, even when you're
So-
on social media, it does feel like you're talking to someone one-on-one. I mean, you must be envisioning that experience because, like, even from like an acting
Yeah.
perspective, like it really does feel like, wow, she's really talking to me, and I feel seen, and like it's like you're a good influencer. You're a good influencer in that way. I guess.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like a terrible influencer because there's so many of the influencer things that I'm bad at. Like, people are like, can you link that? I'm like, shoot.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You're talking to me straight to my eyeballs, straight to my heart. You're doing great. I think.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Sterling, where can we find you?
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Dr. Sterling OBGYN. And if you're wondering the birth story for my first,
Yeah.
I did a series on TikTok with all 3 of my births. So I tell each story, and there was a big lesson. Each one had a big lesson. So I shared that on TikTok, and then Sterling Parents is just sterlingparents.com.
Any parting words, or do you also feel complete? I feel like very good about our experience together today, but I'm wondering if you have any parting words for the listener.
My dream is that every single parent on this planet would realize that they are the most important part of their parenting, that it's them. And that when they are themselves fully, and when they are supported, and when they are whole and well, it doesn't necessarily, all of the details don't matter as much. And that you will be the best parent when you're just the best version of yourself. That's the most important. That's my parting words and wisdom.
Thank you so much. I hope that airplane ride goes well. And if it doesn't, I don't care.
It's going to be okay. Nothing could be as bad as the last time we took this flight. It turned from a 2.5 hour flight to a 12-hour travel day. It was bad. So nothing could be that bad.
Nothing could be that bad.
Yeah.
TV, snacks. You got each other.
Yeah, it's going to be okay.
Thank you for taking the time.
Of course.
So grateful for you.